Local government in Ohio, Part A. So it's been said that all government is local, meaning that you're going to have way more interaction with the local government of the town or city or the county where you live than you will with the state of Ohio or whatever state you live in. And way more than you'll have with the federal government. Your interaction with the federal government mostly will just be taxes and getting your refund. But it's been said that local government, local politics is really key and critical to the American way of life. And for you to understand life in America and our government, really you're going to need to know what it's like and how it is to interact with the local government. So inside the federal, we have the state, and inside the state of Ohio, we have a variety of local governments. So whether you're living in Dublin or someplace in Franklin County or wherever you end up as an adult, you're going to have interaction with the school district, with the township, with the county, whether that's through trash pickup or your drinking water, or when you get hurt and you need to call the ambulance or fire, you're going to have interaction with the local government. And in this video, we're going to focus more on the county and township here in Part A. And then in Part B, we'll go over cities and villages and school districts. But you should know that there are over 1,000 different local governments just in Ohio. So huge variety, but most of them fall within the same type of structure as directed by the Ohio law. So governments just can't go off and do whatever they want. They have to follow the rules that are in the Ohio Revised Code, which are the laws passed in Ohio, and within the Ohio Constitution. So it's helpful to think 88 counties. Inside of each of those 88 counties is the local government. So whatever county you live in, most likely that's the government you're going to interact with the most. Now remember, inside a county could be big cities, could be small villages, and inside those cities are also government. So there's this layer upon layer of government. But for this particular video, we're going to talk about the county government. So don't think about Toledo or Columbus. Think about the counties in which those cities are in, because that's how Ohio really sets up the structure of our government, local government. So there's 88 counties, and inside each of those 88 counties are elected officials who make sure that the rules are followed, that there's civilized life inside those counties, basic services that we all have come to depend on. So we'll first start with the commissioners. There are 3 commissioners for every county, and these commissioners are elected by everybody in the county for a 4-year term. Now, not all 3 of them are up for election at the same time. They're staggered, usually 2 and 1. So 2 1 year, and then a couple years later there might be 1. But these commissioners, every county has got 3 county commissioners who set the policy, make the rules for life in that county. Now, I'm not talking about big cities in that county. I'm talking about if you live outside of the county or outside of the city in the county, these commissioners make the rules. They oftentimes will hire an administrator, someone to run that county day to day to oversee the operations of the county, whether that's snow removal, road clearing, building roads. They have a lot of responsibilities within the county. So whatever county you're in, you can just search for your commissioners and you'll find the 3 elected people who are responsible for the government of that county. Also, separate from the commissioners, every county has a sheriff. So the commissioners can't fire the sheriff. The sheriff is voted on by the people of that county. And as we talked about in the judicial branch video for Ohio, the sheriffs across the county, they maintain the jail for each county and they enforce the law. But they too are up for election every 4 years. Also within each county there is a coroner or a medical examiner to investigate deaths. The majority of deaths are just natural causes, maybe accidents, occasionally a homicide. The coroner is responsible for investigating every death to make sure that it was just something that was natural. If the person's 98 years old and they died quietly in their sleep, or if it was a car accident, or drug overdose, or perhaps a homicide, the coroner is an elected medical doctor who makes sure that the deaths that occur are not anything that needs a criminal investigation. And if it does, then they turn over what they have to law enforcement and say, yes, this was a homicide or this was an accident, but it still needs to be investigated further. Because I don't know if anyone's told you this, but even if you cause death or injury as part of an accident, you still can be held responsible for this. So it's not quite at the same level as a pre-planned criminal act like a murder, but even an accidental murder is punishable. Also, there's an elected auditor for each county who makes sure that the money that's spent by the county offices and businesses in the county run everything legally and that everything is above board. And this auditor is elected for a 4-year term. So maybe you've gotten gas at the gas station. You'll see a little sticker that says this gas pump was inspected by the auditor for the county to make sure that it's actually charging you $2.40 a gallon rather than $7.40 a gallon, even though it says $2.40 a gallon. They got to make sure that everything is operating legally. We also vote for a county recorder. This is someone who works to make sure that everybody's land purchases, the contracts, are all on file, and so you can go to the county office and know who owns what property and how far that property extends. This is really important to just keep civilized life going in a county. You got to know who owns what and who owns what property for all kinds of reasons. Also, there's a county elected prosecutor. So that's kind of a top lawyer who would decide whether or not to prosecute people who are charged, or to charge people with a crime, and then how they're going to prosecute them. And also a county engineer to make sure that the bridges and the roads and everything are up to speed, and that if there needs to be any new construction, they're responsible for that. All of these county officials are elected for 4-year terms, and they generally meet in what's called a county seat. So think about a small county like Adams County. There's one city, kind of maybe the biggest city in the county, where all of these elected officials have their offices. That's called the county seat of government. So typically, a lot of our counties in Ohio are small rural counties, and maybe the biggest city in that county would be considered the county seat. It's where you go if you want to access government records, like who owns what property. You want to talk to the county engineer. You want to talk to the sheriff, or you want to meet with one of the commissioners or all of the commissioners. You go to the county seat. So, for example, here's the Ashtabula County Recorder website. You can see that this person who is elected for a 4-year term is responsible for keeping all land records in the county. Someday when you buy property, the deed for your property will be on file at the county recorder office. Here's the Franklin County Coroner's web page. So elected position, 4 years, medical doctor who investigates death in the county and specifically is looking for any kind of foul play, or if there's a tragic accident, they can determine. They give families a peace of mind knowing how a loved one passed away. And the science behind that has become so solid that people who would have gotten away with murder 100 years ago now, through the coroner's efforts, do not. So it's a really important elected position. Every county has got one. Also, every county's got a county engineer that makes sure that the roads are usable and not dangerous, that the bridges are functioning. Now, try to think of this next time you drive over a big bridge and you're way up in the air over water in your car. Hopefully they knew what they were doing, right? You want people who are smart engineers building bridges and roads. And they just make sure that life within the county is safe, because a pothole or a bridge doesn't work, or a road that's not safe can mean bad things. So these engineers make sure that everything is safe and structurally sound within the county that falls under, owned by the county. So not private buildings or homes, although they could get involved in that as well. But also, each of Ohio's counties, as we mentioned in previous videos, have judges. So we elect common pleas judges to handle felony cases, big cases, but also probate and juvenile and domestic relations. So remember, probate is dealing with if someone dies without a will. Domestic relations would be marriage, divorce, child custody, adoption, that kind of things. These are all elected for 6-year terms. But also, every county has a clerk of courts. These clerks are elected for a 4-year term, and they maintain the records of the court. So they know when court trials are going to take place. They keep record of those trials, the court reporters, all of that falls to the responsibility of the clerk of courts. So preserving records, the docket of a court, all of that. Every county has one of these elected positions. So again, really important. Make civilized life and justice possible within a county. So that's a lot of county information: commissioner, sheriff, coroner, auditor, recorder, prosecutor, engineer. And then you also have common pleas judges and the clerk of courts, which handles the organization of the courts, that helps the judges do their job and to ensure justice for that county. But within a county, we also have smaller units of government called townships. So again, it's even more local. So if you don't live in a major city and you live out maybe perhaps in the edge of a county or in a smaller county that doesn't have a major city, chances are you're going to have some interaction with the township that you lived in. So in Franklin County, for example, there are 18 townships. You might live in Washington Township. Probably the easiest ways to know this is just look at the fire truck or ambulance that you see in your neighborhood. It usually will have the name of the township in the fire truck logo. So if we were to look at Adams County, for example, in southern Ohio, it also has townships. So every county has townships, and they could be anywhere from 10 to 20 townships. Adams County, as you see here, is broken up into smaller townships, and each township, whether we're talking Franklin County or Adams County, each township within that county has elected 3 trustees that maintain and run the government of that township. And those township trustees are elected for a 4-year term, and they also elect people in that township also vote for a fiscal officer to handle the money of that township that's raised through taxes. But this is the governing body of the township. They maintain the roads of the township, the parks in that township, the fire and the EMS. They provide the money for that. They allocate the money for that. They might hire the fire chief, who would then hire the firemen and firefighters on that fire department. Same thing with maybe even sometimes small police forces within some of the small, tiny villages within those townships. So the governing body of a township would be 3 trustees, and inside each of a county, you might have 10 to 20 townships. So we got townships and we got counties. It is a little confusing, but just know usually inside each unit there's a smaller unit. So inside a county you have townships. And finally, one last point is that given all the news lately of immunizations and maybe health concerns, also within the state of Ohio we have small local boards of health. It's usually 1 per county, but sometimes bigger counties can have 2. So I think there's about 133 health department local units. So think of it as like each county has 1. And that county health department is made up of a board which are appointed by all the elected officials we've talked about. So trustees and commissioners for the county. Sometimes mayors of city will vote for people to be on the local health board. But they do a variety of things, from inspecting restaurants, making sure swimming pools are safe and not gross and disgusting, and they're clean, spraying for mosquitoes, keeping track of births and deaths in the county. But the one that's been in the most in the news lately would be vaccinations. So another separate unit of local government would be your local health department. But these are all appointed by other elected officials.